Alright, that's it, time out. Everybody get in the circle. What the fuck is going on? Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys because, I don't have any good reason to lie to you guys, but for like the past, I'd say year specifically, I've unfortunately been committing the preservation sin of buying little to no physical video game releases. Even though the disc barely mean anything now since most games are just live service, but let me keep cooking. Outside of the previous console exclusives or, just games I'd rather play on a bigger screen, it's been a hell of a lot more convenient to just get games on my PC library, which I can only see getting more and more stacked as time goes on, as the idea of console exclusives seem to be fading like VHS in the DVD era. And I want to change that, I do. I like having the overhead of box art for my favorite games and sight while I'm gaming, or, every now and then collecting the collector's edition of my favorite games that charge way more than the plastic knickknacks that they come with are truly worth. It's another fun side of gaming that many people are nostalgic for now, since more companies are more often than not trying their hardest to make you remember that most of the games or, services that they call in the TOS aren't just owned by you, but instead licensed and can be taken away at seemingly any time. So collectively, a lot of gamers, including myself, are now more than ever, more interested in going back and collecting these games from previous generations, or just more physical media in general, which for most of the time, you can find these older titles at either cheaper or reasonable prices, because most people don't really care to keep their copy of Virtua Tennis 3 on PlayStation in their bedrooms collecting dust unless you just got the swag like that. Some people can't handle it. But dude, for the past week or so, I've come across nothing but pricing terrorism on my various video game filled timelines. With a mixture of capitalizing on people's fear of missing out, the release of new media making people more nostalgic, the fact that, most of these old games likely won't get re-released, and just the classic influx of stupidity, third-party sellers have successfully created a toxic concoction of old games just being too damn expensive for any collector on the market with any sense in their wallets. Now, of course, when I say that, I'm not delusional to thinking that all old games and titles just, randomly Mario 64 upwards glitching in pricing. I've always been aware that, classic consoles and their respective titles haven't been that easy to get your hands on in a long time, unless you just have some type of investment money lying around to pour into it, which some people more well off actually use these older games as a form of investment, since a lot of stuff from the 80s and, up to the 90s hold insane value. Like, look at the prices on the Game Boy games from a video game con that I went to last year. That's somebody's rent money in the value of a box. But even still, I just think it's all a crazy sight for me to see personally, because, now it's really starting to hit games that I actually seen release and grew up playing religiously, which I didn't expect to happen so, relatively soon. Most notably, the Activision Deadpool game from 2013. Now, to be fair, this game, from what I can remember, has always been a little bit on the pricey side depending on where you got it from for the past, half a decade now. Especially on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One point, since they barely got any physical versions printed and the game was taken off all digital platforms due to licensing issues. But after that recent Deadpool and Wolverine movie marketing that's likely etched the red and yellow logo in everyone's corneas by now, this shit just skyrocketed all the way up to the moon on secondary markets, going upwards of 200 bones on places like Amazon and around 150 on the low end for third-party sellers like eBay. Actual insanity. And the reason that they can unfortunately get away with these price tags is because, like I mentioned, games like Activision's Deadpool isn't available in any other form legally, since they lost a license a long ass time ago. So the supply that's out in the free world for the game right now is literally all that we have to buy from, which created a wicked demand, especially after that crazy ass movie. And similarly, I found that a lot of previous Activision-owned Marvel games like Wolverine, Blade the game, or, the X-Men titles are sharing a similar fate right now. Of course, though, there are the Spider-Man Activision games like, Web of Shadows and Edge of Time that are also stupidly priced classics, but unfortunately, For these titles in particular, I remember them being final bosses and price tags as far back as like 2017 in secondary market stores. I guess people just really always like these games. I don't really know the reason behind those prices. And it's not just Activision or even Marvel games. Many games that define the whole 7th generation of consoles, like various first-party Wii titles, are slowly but surely creeping up in prices that will soon be unmanageable for some in the next few years if you don't decide to pull the trigger on these games now or luck out on finding a good deal elsewhere. And what I don't see people talking about, when they talk about these old games is that, selling on places like eBay shows you the average price that completed purchases for the item you're selling is going for. So, even if someone had a really good intention to sell an old game at an affordable price on a store like eBay, these selling apps are just going to show you where the market is currently and incentivize you to charge even more than you might have thought that the game was actually worth. So it's not really the ideal playing field for any collectors out there trying to make a purchase after someone paid like $300 for Lollipop Chainsaw. There's real gooners out there that would do that. So overall, my message to literally anyone out there that's on the internet or in somewhere in physical stores seeing a game that they really like is to just buy it now or whenever you don't have to worry about an overdraft fee, because the market is getting smaller and people just don't care anymore. So what do you guys think about these game prices, right now, man? Feel free to comment down below. I'll start looking at the videos, subscribe if you're not ready, and I'll see y'all very soon.